First of all, thank you to Central Kansas Orthopedics. I don't know where Jake from State Farm went. Thanks for sponsoring this, Central Kansas Orthopedic Group, KU Med. We're very grateful, we're very thankful for the opportunity to speak to everyone here tonight. We don't get this opportunity to speak at home much. Nash has had the pleasure of not going coast to coast quite yet, but close, delivering this talk. The problem is it's normally an hour-long talk. Megan gave us 30 minutes, Nash. Can we get all this in 30 minutes?
I think so.
Yeah. So we'll try to adhere to that time, be respectful of that time. But adversity and winning in adversity, and this is a talk that was developed out of the opportunity that was given to us. And not everybody gets that opportunity. But first, Nash has spent hours, over 500 hours, doing physical therapy. And I'd be remiss Jamie Mary's, everyone. Special lady right there. I'd also be remiss if I didn't highlight our AMC family and our Empire Realty family that, my wife and I were in and out of pocket for 3 months. And, we try to live our lives surrounding ourselves with people better than us. And when you do things like that, you can be in and out of pocket for 3 months and nothing misses a beat. My partner, Dr. Ty, sitting back there. So give those guys a round of applause. So life is measured for us now today, pre and post August 7th, 2020. And received a phone call about 3 o'clock. What I call and coin the term, I didn't coin the term, but what I call is a time standstill phone call. How many of you have received a time standstill phone call? One that's ingrained and lasered in your brain forever, right? You remember the time, the place, exactly where you were. And I'd received several. My parents got in a bad motorcycle wreck in about 2005. I remember that very clearly as they were helicoptering my mother out from the scene. I remember when my father was being life watched to Wichita with a heart attack. I remember the day my wife called me told me that her father had cancer. And so the beauty of all these opportunities, these time standstill phone calls, is it gives us an opportunity to get better. And that's how we look at things, right? And so for us, this was August 6th in this picture. So we're doing an expansion, and that was August 6th, about 6:30. I'd gotten home from a feed yard, pulled in. We'd waited for the cement. No, just anybody building anything, the delays. But anyway, they'd just done the pour, and if you're a cement guy, any cement guys in here? Maybe not. They're very proud of that work, and I don't blame them because that's hard work, and they love to make it look really, really good. And they were standing there literally just like that, admiring their work. And I pulled up to check in on them, and I took that picture because we were pretty proud of that, right? And that was about 6:30, and life was normal, 6:30, August 6th. And so then August 7th came.
The morning of August 7th, I was just a normal person. I woke up, stood out of bed. I could go run, jump, play basketball. Football was about to start. Life was great. I remember that morning running past a barn, and I could see my shadow, and just thinking about how cool that I could just run, and I didn't even have to tell each muscle to do that. I didn't even have to try. I could just run. 230 hit. Right away, I was accidentally shot and dropped, and I knew right away something wasn't right. My legs felt like jello. I was trying to get up. they wouldn't. It was like my legs were buried in sand from the waist down. I just couldn't get up. And as I was waiting for the EMTs, I wasn't sure if I was going to live. I just wasn't sure. And then finally, once the EMTs got there, they gave me hope that I'm going to live and see my parents. And then once they got me to on the way to the hospital, we were out in the country, so we were on a dirt road. And every time we run over a little rock or something or over a bridge, the ambulance shakes, and then I'm already in enough pain, and then every time it shakes, it makes the pain even worse. And I was just trying to fall asleep, but they kept telling me to stay awake. And then finally, once we got to the hospital, I was just begging for them to put me to sleep so the pain was going away.
And so throughout this talk, we're going to give you some key points that we leaned hard into through this adversity. And so as we talk, what we want you to do is think about your adversity. Because we know everybody in this room faces adversity. We know people have had time standstill phone calls. Those of you that haven't, you will likely have a time standstill phone call. And the goal of this talk is to give you some key points to reflect upon for when you do get that time standstill phone call, or better yet, just everyday adversity that we all can face at any time in our lives. But when my wife called me, and she knows to phone bomb me if I don't answer because I'm on the phone routinely, and on the third ring, I thought I'd better take the call. And so I took the call, and she said, "Nels, Nash is alive, but he's been shot." And so I am a Christian man, but I do cuss every now and then. So you can imagine maybe what came out of my mouth. I'm like, "What?" And he had been shot, and the whole time I was thinking, surely it's an extremity, surely it's an extremity. Praying it's an extremity. So as I was headed out to where he was located to try and get to him, I found out he was shot in the thorax and the chest. And when I found that out, I knew things were very real. I knew that death could be imminent. And as a type A personality, a number of you can probably understand that personality, you like to control things and keep things moving forward, etc. But when I knew that it was in the chest, I knew it was out of my control. I knew I could do nothing about it. I wasn't with him, couldn't get to him. And I knew it was up to first responders to get there, get him to a place of care. And as I was coming back to town, because I knew he was headed towards the hospital, I stopped in the road, and I did something that I hope none of you ever have to do. And I reached out to God. And I said, "God, if he is to die, please take him. But if he is to live, please heal him." And I don't know if you've ever done that, but it was very hard. Done a lot of very challenging things in my life. But when you place your child at God's feet to let him take him, it's very real. The good news was, as he got to the hospital, and a gentleman that's here tonight saved his life. Literally saved his life. I saw him walk in. You've got to stand, brother. Dr. P.J. Styles. We've given this talk across many states. I've never been able to point out the surgeon. We're so grateful. He was 60 seconds to 120 seconds away from death. PJ saved his life. And that's incredible. We're very lucky as we talk about Great Bend, Barton County. We're lucky that guy right there and his sister. Is she with you? Or she's probably working. We're very lucky they're here. So lucky when it's hard to get veterinarians, doctors, MDs to come back. But seek ye first and give it to God. That is what we have to do. And that is first and foremost the most important thing you can do when you get that time stand still phone call. Don't try to control it. Stop and go to God. Because He will help you. So choosing your mental mindset. So Dr. Stiles saved his life. We knew we were going to Wichita. Helicopter arrived. And those EMTs come in and they're very serious. You know, they've got a life on the line. We knew it's serious. We get loaded up in the helicopter. I was fortunate enough to be able to ride with Nash. I still had my clothes on. Smelled like a feed yard.
Couldn't smell it.
And if you've ever ridden in one of those helicopters, it's pretty tight quarters, and I had 2 flight nurses here. I was across from one. Nash was right here, and I had my hand on his head the whole time. Mind you, at that point in time, I had no clue he was paralyzed. But it was that moment in time that I realized our life could change forever. And I sat there in that helicopter, and I knew that I had to choose my mental mindset. Because the next thing that was going to happen, my wife was going to show up in Wichita at Wesley Hospital, and I was going to have to be the leader of our family and be strong. Be strong in a very dark, potentially death-type scenario. And that's your greatest opportunity in your next adversity, is we all have the opportunity to choose our mental mindset, right? We can let our adversity be our anchor, or we can let our adversity be our wings. The strongest muscle in your body is not your glutes, not your quads. It's not even a muscle. It's between your ears. We have the opportunity every single day to choose our mental mindset. Every single day.
My mental mindset was I was going to walk again, and there was nobody that was going to stop me from doing that. But your mental mindset is a choice. You have to choose to be happy. You have to choose to be positive. You have to choose where you want to go. Instead of choosing to be negative, you got to have a positive mindset of where you're going.
So our next slide is having faith, letting go, and letting God, which is sometimes impossible for us to do, right? Go ahead, Nash.
So right after the accident, that first night, they had done a bunch of tests. And it was that night, and I had extreme pain. I couldn't even bear to have a sheet on my legs because it hurt so bad. People would come up to my bed and touch the bed, and that would hurt. And they would give me morphine every 3 hours, but the morphine would only cover the pain for 2. And I knew that my only option was God. And so I looked over to my dad, and I said, "Daddy, let's pray." And we prayed, and God worked His magic so I could fall asleep for that last hour and then get more morphine.
That was a 12-year-old speaking to his father. That's the intangible of Nash. I knew he was weird from a very little age. I was laying there, I couldn't sleep, as you can imagine. I was reaching out to a surgeon friend of mine to make sure we didn't need a second opinion on getting bullet fragments removed, etc. And I also couldn't sleep, and he was in such severe pain. As he said, the morphine, and he was on codeine, would keep the pain away for about 2 hours, but they couldn't repeat the morphine for another hour. And he would lay there like this. For an hour. Your 12-year-old son laying there doing that for an hour. At those moments in time, you're willing to do anything and everything to take your son out of pain, but there isn't a damn thing you can do. And my 12-year-old son looked at me and he said, "Daddy, let's pray." Is that not amazing? He told his 45-year-old father, "Let's pray." That was the only way he could sleep in that last hour. You all are no different. You face your adversities every single day, no matter how big, no matter how small they are. We get caught up in the chaos of daily life, right, Nash? We just keep working hard, grinding, forcing things. But sometimes you need to slow down and just pray, because you're not in control. You're not in control. The man upstairs is in control. So think about that in your time of adversity. Daddy, let's pray. So prove them wrong.
So about the first day at Madonna, they had done a bunch of tests to see where I was at, see what I could feel, see my motor function. And then the next day came, and every morning the doctors would come and visit us. And that morning they had some news for us about where I was at. And about at the end of the meeting, I looked at the doctor and I asked him if I would walk again. And he would never answer that question. And as a 12-year-old boy, having your whole life ahead of you, not knowing if you're going to walk again is very serious. And so when the doctor walked out, my dad shut the door and said, "No doctor will dictate what you can and can't do." And it was then that I knew I was going to prove him wrong. And I'm still doing that to this day.
Amen. So as you can see in that slide where he's sitting in his chair in his TLSO and I'm beside him. So that was August 19th, 2020, when Dr. Kafka came in his room and his case manager came in the room. Like he said, they'd done a day of testing. They come in the next day. They start giving you goals. He's 12 years old. Can you imagine what his goals were? Put your socks on. Get dressed. Transfer from a wheelchair to a bed. From a bed to a wheelchair. From a wheelchair to a shower stool. To a 12-year-old boy. All he wants to do is walk. And he looked at Dr. Kafka, "Will I walk again?" And he wouldn't answer the question. And he did. He walked out of that room and I slammed that damn door. And that became my greatest coaching journey in my entire life for me and my wife. And I told him, no doctor, no one will dictate what you can and can't do, period. The good part was he listened. He proved him wrong, and so fast forward from October 23rd, our discharge date, to 6 months later, he goes back for a 6-month evaluation with Dr. Kafka. I couldn't make it. Karen had taken him there. I had one thing in mind. So I told Karen, I said, I want to be FaceTimed in for this appointment. And when you guys are all done, I want Dr. Kafka to take the phone. And so that's what they did. And they handed Dr. Kafka the phone. We're looking at each other through phones. I said, Dr. Kafka, on August 19th, my son was asking you, will I be able to walk again? And you wouldn't answer the question. I said, now you do this every single day. You deal with spinal cord injury patients every day, traumatic brain injury patients every day. You can't tell me that you didn't have an opinion in your brain on if Nash would ever walk again. I said, so I know you knew, or you had a thought in your brain, would Nash walk again? And I want to know the answer. And he looked at me, and he said, no. I didn't think he'd walk again. I looked at him. I said, I knew that. I said, now hand that phone back to my son. That's what I did, wasn't it? Nash, you proved him wrong. Can I get an amen? Now, we all have naysayers in our life. We have people around us every single day that we feel like don't believe in us, right? Can anybody raise their hand if they know someone around them that they just feel like don't believe in you? It's everywhere. For me, since high school, since junior high, I use that to fuel my fire because I love to prove people wrong. I'm a competitor. He's a competitor. That's the opportunity we all have. For you all out in this crowd, for you to teach your kids that. Because that is so, so powerful. Because you can take a 12-year-old boy, strengthen that muscle between his ears with a doctor that doesn't believe he'll walk again. And you saw what he did to get up there, didn't you? He proved him wrong. Go for it, Nash.
So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I had pool therapy, and I had a long day. And I was in the corner of the pool, and the PT asked me to do this exercise, and I said, I'll try. And she said, do you ever tell a therapist no? And I said, why would I tell a therapist no if I have a goal of walking, and I'm only here for a certain amount of time? Why would I tell you no if that's not going to get me anywhere? And so remember, when you're doing something tough, remember that the least you can do is try. The worst thing that will happen is you fail. So remember, the least you can do is try.
And so what he's not telling you is that picture. You can see that picture. That's with his PT at pool therapy. And you can see he's standing and he's using assistance to get into that pool, right? Anybody remember or recognize or seen the pool assist chairs in and out of pools at the Fairfield Inn or at the Best Western? Nash had the pleasure of using that quite a few times. Never in my wildest dreams did I think my 12-year-old son would have to use one. Can you imagine what he thought of that? He hated every minute of it. We believed, though, that he would not have to use that. And I took that picture because Nash begged her, can I please walk in? Now, you can imagine a facility like that, if he were to fall, they would have a mountain of paperwork to fill out. And safety is top priority. But that day, she let him do that. Because he was trying. You all have the same opportunity. We can all quit. All these things aren't philosophical, highly intellectual, complicated things, right? You see, I'm not that smart. My job in anything I do is to simplify the complicated. That's what leaders do. None of this is complicated. To get Nash from a wheelchair to walking is not complicated, but he couldn't quit. He had to try. And so the next time you're facing something in your adversity, think of Nash. We know he's inspired probably several of you in this room. He'll continue to do that. And if that's what it takes to motivate you and inspire you, so be it. We're proud to do that. That's our journey, which is your journey. But the least you can always do is try. Because it's so, so powerful. So never give up. Similar to the last one. Y'all have heard of Sir Winston Churchill? One of the greatest leaders ever. He gave a talk. You can Google it. Just simply Google never, never, never give up. And you can hear it. Now the audio is not very good. But you do have the opportunity to hear one of the greatest leaders of all times and one of the greatest speeches of all time. Our opportunity is to never give up. And that picture there that you see was on October 23rd at about 10:30. We hadn't been together as a family of 4 since about August 2nd. That was the first day that we all were back together, the 4 of us. And my wife will tell you, that was her best day ever in her life. You see, COVID was going on, and so we couldn't be at the hospital at the same time together, at Madonna together. We rotated out every Friday. And every Friday, one of us would leave Nash, one of us would leave Mackenzie. We would leave both children, most always crying. Karen and I would get to Madonna. One would be there, one would be going in. Couldn't go inside together. We'd meet outside Madonna Hospital, and we would hug each other. I've been in some tough spots in my life. Those were tough. We would hug. We would sob. And then we'd talk business because we had things to do. It couldn't last long. It was about 5 minutes because whoever was with Nash had just left him crying. We had to make those interchanges very quick so we could get in to see Nash. That day was October 23rd, 10 or 10:30. We didn't give up. It was brutal, 3 months being apart. Brutal, just rip your heart out of your soul. But we endured it. We didn't have a choice. We couldn't give up. And so a number of you in this room have probably experienced some of this pain before. Some of you that haven't, you will get that opportunity. And please don't ever give up. Maybe look up Sir Winston Churchill, never, never, never give up. Another very simple concept. It's not complicated. We live in a world where too many people want to complicate the simple. It's our opportunity to do these very simple but very damn hard things to do when you're in the fire. But we believe that each of you can do that when you're in the fire. So why me? Raise your hand if you've ever thought that. Come on. If you don't, you're a freaking liar. When your son gets shot and paralyzed, obviously this is one of the thoughts that's in your brain almost hourly. But Nash, being Nash, looked at it a different way.
Shortly after in Madonna, it was like, why do I have to sit on this FES bike with electrodes sending electricity through my legs? Why can't I just go home and be normal? Why can't I just play basketball? But shortly after that, I figured out that I had to look at it in a positive way and look at it as, why not me? If it wasn't for our adversity, I wouldn't be speaking here today. It's given me great opportunities to meet great people.
So why not me? I would challenge each and every one of you, the next time you think, why not me, is to think about our buddy Nash. At 12 years old, he inserted one word. One 3-letter word. Which totally changes the dynamic in a person's brain, right? When you go from why me to why not me, your brain all of a sudden shifts. And instead of drowning in your sorrows and your pain, you start to think about what you can do with this. You can create opportunities. You can turn that anchor into your wings and do phenomenal things. When you say, why me, that's complaining. Complaining hardwires your brain to do more complaining. For me, I'm not a complainer. Matter of fact, I hate complainers. If you're a complainer, I will do very intentional things to get away from you. If you work for us and you complain, we will help you fly away. If you can shift that to why not me, you take control. The keys are in your pocket. The keys are in his pocket. When you say, why me, you just pulled your keys out and you gave them to somebody else. Insert one word. One word. And you can do that. So the journey. We've been on a journey since August 7th of 2020. You all have had your journeys, right? You all have faced your adversities, your own adversities. We're all writing our own story. And the journey is just as much about who we are becoming as it is about where we are going. I wrote this article on adversity for a magazine that I write for. We then broke it down into this talk. Of course, we had to cut some out to keep Megan happy. This is a quote from Daniel Tardy, who used to be on the Entree leadership team, Dave Ramsey's leadership group. The journey is just as much about who we are becoming as it is about where we are going. So our challenge to you guys tonight is to think about your journey. And who are you becoming? For Nash, and many people that experience paralysis, traumatic brain injuries, things can get pretty dark pretty fast. But he's utilized his journey to become an unbelievable man at 12. We all have that opportunity. Who are you becoming? Now you have the opportunity to embrace these points every single day. The tough part gets to be when you're facing that adversity is to do these points when you're in the fire. But Nash and I believe in each and every single one of you to become a better person. Isn't that the goal in life? To become a better person. At this chamber event, we've got a chamber that's turned 100. We have a city of 150. There's been a lot of adversity over the years, correct? There's people in this room that have been at this a very long time, and we give you the utmost respect for the adversity. You all have led us to where we're at today. The beauty of all of this is we have tremendous opportunity to do so much more. My challenge to you and each and every single one of you today, I don't care how old you are. My parents are here, they're in their 70s, and I'm challenging them as well. My mother, my father, they're going to accept the challenge because I'm going to make them. Our challenge to each and every single one of you in this room is to take 15 minutes out of your day to get better. 15 minutes out of your day to study something that makes you a better person. And today there's zero excuses to not be studying something for 15 minutes a day to get better. Online, virtual, books, magazines, email lists, blah, blah, blah. The keys are in your pocket. Now for Nash, he's working every day about 2 hours a day. Paralyzed. Now walking. Because he's working on it. He's got discipline. He's got grit. He's got perseverance. He's got resilience to do it every damn day. to go from paralyzed to walking. If he can do that, we know everybody in this room can take 15 minutes a day to get better. There's 450 people in this room. And if all 450 of you do this, we can all single-handedly, with 450 people in this room, we can look up in 10 years and have this same gathering. We'll raise our head up from grinding and perseverance and discipline in 15 minutes a day, and we'll look back and we'll think, holy crap, that's amazing. That's your opportunity. Nash and I and our family believe that you can all do that. Our journey has been your journey. Our journey is your inspiration and motivation. God is helping us all every step of the way. He has given Nash the greatest purpose he can possibly have. And our 12-year-old son is doing it. And we believe that each and every single one of you can do that. Because I know without a doubt that the best is yet to come for Nash. And I know without a doubt, if you all accept this challenge, all 450 people in this room, to study 15 minutes a day to get better, your best is yet to come, and our best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come, and our best is yet to come. Let's freaking get it done.